Hi, everyone. I'm Kate. I'm an alcoholic. When people share their stories at meetings of AA, they normally go over their experience, strength, and hope. My experience as an alcoholic, my first couple days here, 5D was one of the first meetings that I went to. It's the first meeting that I stayed for. I went to a couple other online Zoom meetings because I was not about to go to an in-person meeting. And I think the first two, they mentioned the word God, and I was like, nope, can't do it. And then I got desperate again and I tried it, and this group didn't. And then I stayed after and talked to some of the home group members that still come around to these meetings. And they just told me to keep coming back and I'll figure it out. And that was true. So 5D is actually my home group. I did get sober on 5D. I didn't do treatment. No one told me to come here. I came here on my own. People ask like, oh, like what brought you to the rooms? Why did you start doing AA? And honestly, it's such a blur. I don't remember. I was still drinking my first couple of meetings, just trying to wean myself off. And I don't know what brought me here other than my higher power. And I remember talking to Anthony actually after one of the 5D meetings, and I was so new within my first couple days. I'm only 5 months sober, so it hasn't been that long, but I was just such a confused person back then. I knew nothing about AA, and thank God for that. But I was just kind of like asking questions, and the first couple days suck. Like, if this is your first time getting sober, and if you're in your first couple days or weeks, it gets so much better. I promise you. Especially if you're doing it over Zoom and you're trying to do it yourself. And, if you are doing that, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. But yeah, I was just jittery, shaky. I like couldn't go to work. I just didn't know anything about the program. And, I was talking to Anthony and I think I told him I was here because I just went through a divorce and I'm in grad school and I've been drinking too much and I wanted to stop. Thinking about that now, first of all, that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I'm an alcoholic and I've always been an alcoholic. But the things that I've gotten from this program, I could have never imagined. I couldn't have asked for it because I didn't know that it existed. I've always been this just high strung, anxiety ridden person who's really uncomfortable around anyone, but also really uncomfortable around just myself. I don't remember my first drink, but I remember like when I first started experimenting with alcohol. And I drank a bottle of cooking vermouth from my kitchen. And then I went to the movies with one of my friends. And I didn't even tell her that I did that. It was my little secret. And I thought it was so fun. And then the first time I drank with my friends, I remember waking up the next morning. I remember thinking, I feel different now. Am I ever going to feel the same? I can't go back to pre-drinking now. But this is it. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And it didn't really get bad in high school. I didn't think it was bad in college because it was fun still. I had a good time in college. I partied with my friends, thought I had really good friends. I was a swimmer in college. I was getting good grades. I thought that I was really happy. I've talked to like a couple of other athletes who have this similar experience where you have this group of people who are super supportive around you. And then the second that's over, you just lose that. And that's what happened. And I remember college ended and I don't have the support around me. And I want to keep drinking, but I'm alone. And so I drank, pretty casually, like every day by myself. I was feeling super depressed. And then I'm from Connecticut. I decided to move down to Waco, Texas for grad school, which is where I'm still here 7 years later. Didn't know anyone, don't have any friends or family down here. Again, that's another thing. What brought me there, I don't know. But yeah, I moved down here, got into a relationship really quickly after I moved down here. During that time period, I thought I had control over my drinking. I was drinking every day. I definitely couldn't go, well, I never tried to go a day without drinking. And then about 2.5 years ago, I found out that my mom got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And that kickstarted me feeling like I needed to get out of this place. And I just couldn't deal with that feeling of guilt because I've always felt this guilty feeling deep down inside. And I've tried to overcompensate by get validation from anything other than myself through swimming, through school, through more school. I was like, let's keep doing school. School's great because I love receiving physical, tangible validation. That is my thing. That keeps me going. And I'm in a PhD program, which is really slow. Research is really slow. There's not a lot of instant gratification. I don't get grades anymore. So I was not feeling good. I needed that. And that on top of my mom, I got married and then I got divorced very quickly after and started living alone and spiraled. And I remember like COVID hit and, people were like, whoa, I'm like really depressed. Like I'm drinking a lot. I'm not leaving my house. And I've been doing that for the last 7 years. That's not normal to you. I'm glad this is happening because now everyone else understands like how miserable I am. So yeah, that happened. I was isolating. And then I started living by myself, drinking every day. And I'm a blackout drinker. Like it's all a blur. I really can't even spend too much time talking about it because it really is all a blur. But eventually I found myself in these rooms and knew that I would not make it unless I started doing step work immediately. And that's what I did. I hit the ground running with getting a sponsor, going to meetings. I did the 90 and 90 because no one told me to come here. No one was like, hey, Kait, like, we're worried about you. I don't have any friends here. No one saw how bad my drinking was, which made it really hard for me in my first step, I think, because I'm such a person who cares so much what other people think. And I need tangible physical things. And I had no one telling me you're not doing so good, or, I think you have a problem. Maybe you need to ask for help. First of all, I don't ask for help. Second of all, I need to let a problem get so bad that the only choice I have is to ask for help before I do anything. So it was that bad. And that was such a gift because I would not have been willing to get past the second step without that sense of desperation. I came in not only not believing in God, but I was so against religion. I had a resentment towards religion and religious people. And I'm a scientist, I'm bisexual, and the church hasn't done anything for me. And I grew up Catholic, and my mom made me go to church, and just all these things that I told myself as to why I was too good for religion or like too good for spirituality. And I remember reading We Agnostics and getting offended. I could hardly make it through the chapter because, it's spitting truth. And that's why I love this book so much. It's written by alcoholics for alcoholics, and it knows us so well that it's irritating. It goes into detail about people who, I'll just read it instead of trying to paraphrase it. So from We Agnostics, many of us have been so touchy that even casual reference to spiritual things made us bristle with antagonism. And that was me because I was not religious and I moved down to a Southern Baptist town and school, and I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't feel like anyone wanted me in their little religious circles. I felt like it wasn't for me. And so I hated that. And I hated when people talked about God or spirituality. And so when I saw this, I wanted nothing to do with it. But just a couple sentences later, the book talks about it finally beat us into a state of reasonableness, which is where I was at. And it's funny thinking about how my higher power had all of that built into his plan, their plan. I still don't really understand my higher power. And one of the most profound spiritual experiences I had was when I was writing my fourth step, which took me way too long. I went into way too much detail because I'm a perfectionist. And it was towards the later end of it. And I was so sick of thinking about myself. I was so sick of all of my fucking bullshit that I've created, all these problems that I've created, and everything's so clearly outlined for you to see. And it's horrible. It's horrible to look at yourself like that. And you're just so sick of yourself. You're like, I just want to do my fifth step. I want to be done with this. And I was sitting right here on this couch and I was writing about my last couple months drinking and how I still wound up here. And I realized that this is going to sound really cheesy, that my higher power has been with me that whole time. That was the game changer for me. That's something that I'll always think back to when I think about my higher power, because I felt it. I had to get up off the couch and like go to my room, get on my knees, and I prayed and I sobbed and I prayed and I sobbed. And I said the 3rd step prayer, I said the 7th step prayer, I said the 11th step prayer, because I didn't know how to pray really. So one of the things that I think about when I think about my higher power, now I still have a very kind of loose idea of what my higher power is. I'm glad that I came in with kind of a blank slate in terms of religion, because I'm open to anything and I'm just having these experiences and letting it fill in the holes of what I think a God should be. But one of the things that, so my boss is not in the program, but he's a really spiritual person, because everyone at Baylor is a very spiritual person. But he has this really beautiful idea of, so I work with the inner ear, I study hearing loss, and your inner ear is this crazy complicated inner world. The cells in your inner ear, the way they work together, the way they develop is almost impossible to like comprehend how that could happen just on its own through evolution. I'm not saying that evolution is not real, by the way, but he says something, and he says it a lot more beautiful than I'm about to say it. There has to be something out there for that to have happened, for something so beautiful to have developed. There has to be something out there. And I always thought that was weird and that like bothered me. But now I think about it almost every day. And that connects me to my higher power a lot, because my work is really important to me. I'm not done with my steps yet. I'm only on step 9, writing my amends letters right now. I have a sponsor, and my sponsor is a sponsor. I should have said that when I first started. But I fucking love this program so much. And I love this group specifically. And the women in this group, I'd give a kidney for. Don't even have to ask twice. Have my kidney. This group is so special to me. And thank you, Anthony, for inviting me on and letting me share my experience right now.